So I ripped out the power supplies, or supply for my Robotron, and while I was doing that, well, let's see here. I did notice something about those connectors when I was pulling them out. Check this out. Not only was the AC side kind of burnt, also, they had these wires soldered onto the back side of the connector to bypass this cranky burnt connector. But the output DC side was also burnt as well. That's probably going to the game board, so that's probably why it was very unhappy when I was running it very shortly. So I'm going to try and eliminate this thing from the setup. I'm going to try and get the old power supply working, and in order to do that, I ordered some parts. And you got some more kits from the arcade parts and repair here. I got the cap kit, and I got like the well, that's for the monitor for it, and then I got the rebuild kit for the power supply here. If we look at the power supply, you can see that they had these 3 wires that were hooked up to the back side of this connector to bypass it. That's what you saw in the chopped up part of those cables, and that's kind of jerry-rigged, I guess. You can definitely tell this got a little bit toasty right here, and what that is the bridge rectifier, which has at one point started oozing goo. I guess there's a couple minor modifications we'll be doing as well, such as doubling the power pins, because each voltage coming from the transformer has 2 pins on the board, but the connector is only using like one of the pins, so if we double it up, it should reduce load on single pins. Yeah, I've had went to Clav and had a couple people help me out with getting what I need for this thing, and they're all very good help, and it's good stuff. Also, this big capacitor is bulging, and it's got some like cracking going on, and it kind of looks like one of those casts from my Wizard of War. So generally things are kind of unhappy. This fuse is looking kind of gunky, but I don't think that has to do with these here. I don't think they're connected there. You can see that trace right there is a little bit browned. Hopefully that's still all good and happy. And also another little minor modification is getting a heatsink for the bridge rectifier, so it doesn't have a freaking meltdown again. So not that I'll be running this thing for that long periods of time, like when it was in commercial use. Well, for now I got the easy part out of the way. Just replace these transistors here. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get the pins to line up with the sockets, which these do have. I was afraid I was going to have to unsolder some stuff, but these are just sockets that the transistors push into and then bolt onto. It's got a little bit of a thermal paste in there in between the insulators as well. And I also did my first connector, which turned out pretty okay. I got these iWis crimpers here. Unfortunately, the rest of my connectors haven't arrived yet, so I'm just using the ones that came in the rebuild kit just for the power supply. I'm just going to do the power supply today and have that ready to go for when I get my connectors ready to go. Alright, so the rebuild kit is done. I got, as I've said before, I got this finished up, and I got the pins, the connector replaced because I just wanted to try that out. But on this one, I just got all the rebuild stuff, so that means all new bridge rectifiers. So these 3 here, these 2 new ICs here, new diodes right there, there, and there. New fuses. I cleaned out the fuse holders. I put new connectors on here. The connectors were an absolute pain in the ass because, well, this one right here and this one right here, they have a lot of juice flowing through them and a lot of pins going to the same circuit. So all of these are on the same circuit, and of course they have a huge plane right here where it's just soaking up all the heat, and it was just a giant pain in the ass to get that together. But that is done now. And I don't think any of the logic boards or the game boards or whatever, the sound boards or anything like that, are going to have quite that much heat soaking potential. So I think those will be a little bit easier than this thing. So now all I got to do left is replace the capacitors. I had to pull this one off because it's was getting in the way of my Dremel when I was cleaning the fuse holders. So yeah, this thing is kind of roasty toasty. So yeah, I'll get started on the cap kit, and then I think I'll be done for the night because it's getting kind of late. And finally, I got that pretty much. I got the rebuilt kit and the capacitors changed out, and everything looks ready to go. And so I guess tomorrow we'll test it out after I repin the connectors or whatever, and redo the connectors in the cabinet for the AC input and the DC output, and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll give it a shot tomorrow. Already redid one connector right here. I did this one off camera just to get my bearings, I guess, figure it out, get a crimping business figured out. So this is the old connector. As you can see, it's pretty toasted up. I've crimped a couple extra wires onto here. The reason is that these 6 wires right here, every 2 of them is like kind of a pair on the motherboard. It goes to the same trace. So if you double up these wires and then connect these to its respective connector on the transformer right here, you'll put less stress on each individual pin for the most used. This is where the AC comes in, basically into the power supply to be converted to DC. A lot of current's gonna be going through these. So if you double them up, it means less heat and less of this nonsense, which is what happened right here. It got a little bit toasty. So yeah, you got this one out of the way first, and we're gonna go with this one next, which is the second most important, I suppose. This is the other burnt up connector. This is the DC output going to the game boards, and luckily these are smaller wires, so it's not going to be such a pain in the ass. These are 16 gauge, and these little connectors that I got I think are for 18 gauge, but I squeezed them in there anyway. So I got all the 16 gauge stuff, and I think this is all 18 gauge up here. This might be like 20 or something. I think that's 18, this is 20. I'm thinking this one's for like coin door lights and switches and stuff like that. So that's the other connector that goes to the power supply. This is the next one right here. So the guide says to put the visible pins to the edge of the board, so it'll go right here on that board. So it's gonna be basically the same thing as that right there. So let's see here. Oh, yeah. So it'll be the same orientation, I guess, since there's pins exposed on that. You can see kind of cracked. So we'll start with the this side first, I suppose. I'm going to chop a little bit off. I'm going to leave the cable showing a little bit so I can refer to this if I need to. Because I did make a mistake over here on this one. Since I put like extra pins or extra wires on the left of these regular wires here. I was counting spaces in between the pins to put the next one in, but I counted 2 instead of 1 because on the original connector this wire wasn't there, so I kind of screwed everything up. I had to pull 3 of these cables out and put them back in, but that came out alright anyway. So this one, let's give it a lop. Oh no. Ugh. Okay. Now, it's pretty simple stuff. I'm probably going to do a couple of these on cameras because this is pretty monotonous shit. Stick it in the 18 gauge stripper here. Is that 18 gauge? I guess it is, yeah. Get back a little bit more. No, I got it probably too long. So you only need like a tiny bit stripped off here. And these connectors are kind of interesting. This is what connects onto the pins there, and this is what gets crimped. So you gotta have the wire right there and the shielding on the left side here. So just kind of shove it in there like that. And actually, with these smaller wires, I could probably get away with how I was doing it on the power supplies transistor deal. I just kind of shove them in there like that and get to the first click, so it's gonna stay put there. Shove your wire in. I think this crimper does a pretty dang good job. I like it. So yeah, that's one pin crimped. Where did my connector go? So this is gonna be the second pin over. Just gotta give it the. There. So that's one pin. Also, I like, just to make sure, I like to label which way is up, even though you can't even read that, but I'll know what that means. Okay, so that's one. Now you gotta do it for the rest of these 15. Well, it's not 15 total, but I mean, it's close. Alright, now I'm gonna pause the camera because I want to listen to my music when I do this, because this is boring. And yes, there is daylight outside my garage door, even though it's never been seen before. At least I don't think it has. Alright, here comes the fun part. I got this all soldered up down here. I was kind of a bastard, especially getting to this one down there, but I think I got it good enough. So I got all this wired up. All that's correct as far as I know, so we'll just pop this in here. We'll give it a power up for the first time without anything connected. I got everything disconnected from power. This is the only power going to the ROM board. This is power for the main board here, and this is like the memory interlock, so I think that disables rights to the memory while the machine's powering down. That goes to like the ground, this pin right here, and the ground of this coin door wiring harness. I got the sound disconnected for right here, so this power supply or this harness is not connected to any stuff that's going to blow up. So I'm going to try turning it on without anything hooked up first. See if we get all three lights. I think that's what will happen. We'll get all three lights, and then I'll plug in this connector right here, and then I'll test voltages at all the different plugs and make sure everything is right. I got over here a handy dandy little list of what the voltages should be for each connector. But yeah, time for the moment of truth, I do suppose. Yeah, fun stuff. Interlock is pulled out, power switch is off. The monitor will power up. We'll see if we blow any fuses or if it blows up in my face. Power strip is on. Okay, here we go. You get all three lights. Of course, nothing's going to come up on the screen. Let's give it a couple seconds, make sure nothing burns. I'm going to give it a good while to discharge before I plug in stuff, because I don't want to have another situation where Wizard of War happens and I get a little arc when I plug in my stuff due to residual voltages from big ass capacitors. So we'll give it a minute. Well, when it starts a fire, I know where I'll be going. Where my fire extinguisher is, I guess. I don't fucking know. Let's check. Where's my notepad? So on the game board, you got this connector here. 2, 3 is ground, so these two should be ground. That's ground, or no, it's 2. Ground, ground, 3. 4, 5 is 5 volts. Okay. Let me stop reading this upside down. So 5 is not 5 volts. 5 is 12 volts regulated. So that'll be 12 volts. That's about right. This is 7. 537. So that's 5 volts. Now this should be 12 unregulated, which will run high. which is correct. Last is negative 5 volts, and that's correct. So all the game board voltages are correct. This, I don't know what the hell. That's gonna be ground. Let's check the ROM board. We got ground and negative 5, I do believe, or 5 and 5. So ground 5. So that's about right. Perfect. 5 volts. 5 and 5. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to plug in the coin door. So that means this header here. I'm just going to plug it in because this is all AC and a ground for the lights. So I don't think there's really any capacitors on this line, so I don't think it's going to pop. If I got lights, then I'll consider it good to go. What do you know? Got some lights. Of course, it still has these iffy connectors on here, but these aren't nearly as bad as the one that was on the power supply, which were all burnt up and starting to break open. Where I had more current than just this, I suppose. So I know this thing's going to go pop if I plug this in. Shit. Okay. So I just know how this is going to fucking work. I don't know. Okay. So it's not going to do a Wizard of War on me. Everything is plugged in. Here we go. We're going to get a 0 on the board. Oh yeah, look at that. No errors. We are operational. Alright. So now we got it running. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a play. Let's see what we can do on Robotron. And yeah, it does seem that with the power supply rebuilt, the signal coming out of the game board for the monitor is stronger, and with the screen turned up so much you can sort of see it pulsating. We need to turn down the screen on the screen, I think. That looks pretty good. Problem is, I think the pulsating is not going to go away, but I think that's just how it's going to be on this game until I get the cat kit installed. I think the big cap will prevent the pulsating from happening. I think this one right here. The other cat kits I did for my monitors, I didn't get the big filter cap, but I did for this one because it's doing that size shit. So, all right, let's play a game of Robotron. We'll give it a play, hopefully without crashing. I don't know about that dropping sound right there. That might indicate something else, but maybe not. And for as much burn-in as this screen has, it's pretty freaking bright. I think you need to turn it down. I'll just down here to make it quick. Cool thing is you can set it up to put your whole name in if you get the top score. Well, I wasn't really planning on getting the game running this early, so I guess I'll just release this as a separate video, getting it to run with the power supply repair or rebuild. And then I think the next thing will be to recap the monitor and redo all the connectors. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to leave it running for about an hour probably to see if it stays stable. Let's turn this off. Make sure the connectors aren't getting hot from that little run there. Not bad. Oh yeah, it's nice that I got that voltage regulator. It's a little heat sink there because I think it's pretty hot. But that's it for now. It's working. Good stuff. Oh. It works only when it's plugged in. Like most electronics. I don't know what that big old berm is about. I don't know if that's normal. Hopefully that is. Get another 0. That means 0 errors. Yeah. Nice.